In the realms of war, politics, and even our daily relationships, there's an undeniable truth that those who speak excessively almost always find themselves at a disadvantage, often losing the very battles they thought they were winning. This truth is ancient, tested by centuries, yet astonishingly forgotten in the chaos of our modern, noisy world. Today, we are bombarded with endless streams of chatter, opinions thrown carelessly into the air, voices clamoring to be heard, and an overwhelming belief that the loudest voice holds the greatest power. But Niccolo Machiavelli? He perceived a deeper reality, something almost no one else truly understands. True power resides not in the flood of words, but in silence. Not the kind of passive silence that comes from having nothing to say, but a deliberate, measured, and strategic silence. A silence that watches with sharp eyes, listens with patient ears, waits with calm calculation, and silently unsettles everyone within its reach. In this video, you'll uncover why silence is one of the most overlooked yet potent weapons of influence and control, and how mastering it allows you to command any room, any conversation, without ever needing to raise your voice or shout to be noticed. Because here's the fundamental reality: silence is not a sign of weakness or inactivity. When harnessed correctly, silence represents complete mastery over the dynamics of power. And by the end of this journey, you may come to realize that the battles you've been losing in your life may be the direct result of speaking too much, revealing too much. Machiavelli observed the world with an unflinching, brutal clarity. In his seminal work, The Prince, he wrote a line that echoes through the ages: "Men judge more by their eyes than by their hands." What does this mean? Simply put, people care far more about appearances than they do about reality. Everyone sees the surface, but very few truly understand what lies beneath. This insight is the key to unlocking the immense power of silence. When you speak, you expose yourself. You give away your fears, your plans, your intentions, your vulnerabilities. But when you remain silent, you become a mirror, a canvas onto which others project their own assumptions. They see in you whatever they want to see: authority, wisdom, strength, even if you haven't uttered a single word. This is the genius of silence, as Machiavelli understood. It gives you control over how others perceive you while concealing your true thoughts and feelings. You might feel uncertain, anxious, or still calculating your next move, but as long as you stay silent, you appear confident, unreadable, and even dominant. Silence creates a protective distance. It prevents others from getting too close, stops them from reading your mind or predicting your moves. In the game of power, unpredictability is not just an advantage, it's a formidable weapon. People fear what they cannot understand, what they cannot anticipate, and nothing is more dangerous than someone who refuses to reveal themselves. Machiavelli was not a man of traditional morals. He cared only about results. To him, silence was a tool to manipulate perceptions, to appear virtuous, calm, and in control while quietly pursuing strategic objectives. Once you grasp how appearances shape reality, you realize that whoever controls what others see, even if only through silence, controls how they think, react, and trust. This is the essence of real power. Silence also breaks through the expectations that most people have. We live in a culture conditioned to expect immediate responses, quick answers, and constant explanations. But when you disrupt this pattern, when you pause, when you allow silence to stretch just a little longer, something unexpected happens. The other person starts to unravel. Silence creates discomfort, like an empty void that begs to be filled. And very often, it's the other person who begins to talk, too much, revealing fears, secrets, and weaknesses they intended to keep hidden. This is your first advantage as a master of silence. You compel others to reveal their true selves. In tense conversations, negotiations, or heated arguments, silence becomes a subtle yet powerful trap. While others rush to fill the space with words, you listen carefully. You observe patterns, insecurities, subtle clues that most people miss because they're too busy trying to be heard. Silence also builds an aura of mystery. When you refuse to explain yourself, justify your actions, or rush to respond, people begin to fill the gaps with their own stories. They assume you know more than you do. They believe you're in control, even if you're still figuring things out. And here's the most powerful truth. In politics and social dynamics, perception often holds more weight than reality. Silence transforms you into an enigma, and enigmas fascinate people. They intimidate and command respect. While everyone else struggles to prove their worth with words, the strategist holds back, and this restraint is what earns genuine respect. A well-timed silence is an invisible weapon. It makes no noise, it does not force or threaten, but it does compel others to reveal themselves, and in doing so, you win half the battle without saying a word. In The Prince, Machiavelli counseled rulers to speak sparingly about important matters. Why? Because every word spoken can be used as a future weapon against you. Every word is a potential weakness. Silence, on the other hand, is a shield, an invisible fortress guarding your intentions against prying eyes. That is why silence is not passivity. It is pure, deliberate strategy. Think of a chess grandmaster. They never rush their moves. They observe the entire board, study their opponent carefully, and analyze every detail before making a single move. Silence works the same way. It gives you time to think, to read the room, to understand who you're truly dealing with. While others scramble to explain themselves, defend their ideas, or seek approval through endless talk, you build an image of calm, confidence, and control. And that image alone is enough to intimidate. In negotiations, there's a timeless tactic. Whoever speaks less wins.
Machiavelli understood that power is ultimately a battle for information. The one who knows more wins. To gather information, you must listen far more than you speak. Silence is your greatest weapon for that. It also grants emotional leverage. Most people cannot tolerate silence during tense moments. It makes them uneasy, vulnerable, and off balance. This discomfort causes them to make mistakes, speaking impulsively, offering unnecessary concessions, and revealing truths they'd rather keep hidden. Meanwhile, the master of silence remains calm, composed, and unshaken, creating the perfect environment for others to stumble over their own words. For Machiavelli, power demanded cold, calculated moves. Silence is one of the most effective calculations you can make. While others rush to talk and claim control, the one who remains silent with purpose is the one truly controlling the game. The true strategist never reacts immediately. Instead, they watch intently, allowing others to expose themselves, contradict their own words, and wear themselves down. When the strategist finally chooses to speak, each word carries weight, precision, and deliberate intention. This is silence wielded not as mere absence of sound, but as a powerful presence of intelligence, control, and absolute mastery over the situation. In today's fast-paced world, silence has almost become a taboo. We live in an era where everything must be said, posted, commented on, and shared without hesitation. Social media glorifies impulsive speech, turning it into a celebrated virtue. People feel compelled to have an opinion on every topic, respond instantly, and maintain a constant presence online. Yet paradoxically, the more they speak, the less they truly think. The more they reveal, the less control they maintain. Machiavelli, if he were to witness this chaotic landscape, would undoubtedly smile with ironic knowing. He understood that true power lies not in endless exposure, but in the art of restraint. Not in constantly making yourself heard, but in mastering the timing of silence. Nowadays, those who speak little are often viewed as odd or aloof, but in truth, the oddity lies in the compulsive need to explain, justify, and be heard at all costs. This relentless urge to be noticed is a clear signal of insecurity and weakness, whereas silence conveys confidence and internal mastery. People who speak only when necessary naturally stand out because their presence carries weight and meaning. While the crowd shouts and overwhelms, the silent observer commands and controls. It's a harsh paradox. Never before has so much been spoken, yet so little truly heard. The louder the noise, the more power dissipates, for a cacophony of voices eventually cancels itself out. But silence slices through the chaos. It demands attention precisely because it is rare, and rarity is valuable. In the modern age, silence becomes an act of rebellion against the constant urge to overshare, please, or prove something. It is a deliberate choice of strategy over impulsive reaction. This is why mastering silence today does more than sharpen your mind. It makes you dangerous. Amidst endless chatter, what remains hidden holds the real power. Practicing strategic silence doesn't mean you must stay quiet all the time. It means you must understand exactly when to be silent and, above all, why. It is a purposeful, intentional act, never passive. The first step to wielding this power is resisting the automatic compulsion to respond. In every conversation, dispute, or negotiation, there is a critical moment when you feel a near physical pressure to justify yourself, correct the record, or reply immediately. That moment is your opportunity to exercise control. Take a breath, wait, observe. In that pause, silence is worth more than any argument, because while you hold your tongue, your opponent unwittingly reveals themselves. A potent tactic is to use silence as your answer. When someone pressures, provokes, or attempts to extract information from you, resist the urge to respond right away. Simply maintain eye contact and allow silence to fill the space. This creates discomfort for the other person, and within that discomfort lies your advantage. Silence forces them to speak more, explain excessively, and expose vulnerabilities they never intended to share. Without moving a single piece, you are already winning. Another essential rule is to speak only when your words serve a clear strategic purpose. Before uttering anything, ask yourself, will this give me an advantage? Does it serve my plan? Does it expand my control or make me vulnerable? Most daily conversations are driven by habit or impulse, but the strategist conserves words like a general conserves soldiers, using them sparingly to win the battle. In both social and professional environments, strive to be the listener, not the talker. People trust those who listen. They feel respected, admired, and even intimidated. Without realizing it, they begin to share information, intentions, and weaknesses. You gain far more by remaining silent and attentive than by speaking constantly. Machiavelli understood that real power demands restraint, and strategic silence embodies this. Restraint with a purpose. This is not about being cold or detached, but about becoming impenetrable when necessary, knowing that sometimes the best move is no move at all. Properly used, silence is like an invisible blade. No one sees the strike, but the wound is precise and devastating. Now, as we conclude this exploration of the silent power Machiavelli taught so wisely, remember, silence is not a lack of power, but its most refined expression. It is the invisible weapon that shields your intentions, builds intrigue, and compels others to reveal themselves. In a world where everyone talks without thinking, those who master the art of silence hold the true advantage. Ask yourself, do you control your words or do your words control you? How many times have you spoken too soon, revealing more than you intended? How many battles have slipped away because of careless speech? Mastering silence means mastering yourself. It requires patience, strategy, and the strength to wait for the perfect moment to act. And when you do choose to speak, let your words carry undeniable weight, clear intention, and real power. Silence creates space for the unexpected, for surprise, for advantage. It invites reflection, deep observation, and careful judgment. If you truly want to become a figure of authority, respect, and influence, start by cultivating silence in your life. If this video gave you new insights into the power of your words or the power of choosing not to speak, please like, subscribe, and share this wisdom. Because sometimes the most powerful move is not what you say, but what you decide to leave unsaid. Silence the noise around you for a moment and listen closely to what silence itself has to teach you.